We have some breaking news. The Toronto Maple Leafs have made a shocking move, and in a wild turn of events, the Leafs have made a move that not only no one saw coming, but has some big implications going forward. We're going to break down exactly what that move is and discuss what this means going forward for this team, as well as a few other Leafs updates on this episode, folks. Before we get into it, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. About 71% of you who are watching right now aren't subscribed, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys again for your continued support as we continue to produce the fastest news and all that stuff on this channel. And I'm a little bit shocked here, Darius, because this came out of nowhere. And we were, of course, talking about Lane Lambert. He got hired elsewhere as a head coach. And then just moments ago, 5 or 6 minutes ago, was the time of recording, we got some news about 10 minutes ago here regarding their new assistant coach. And this is a very interesting one. So this, of course, replaces, I guess, Lane Lambert to a degree. But he is not the associate coach. He is now the assistant coach. And it is Derek Lalonde. If you're familiar with him, we're going to dive into it. Obviously, Red Wings ties. He was also on the panel during the Leafs playoff run this postseason for a while. Had some very interesting takes that some fans love, some fans hate. Bit of a shock value, a name here to a degree. But we're going to dive into, the sign with Darius. Also, he's very good at certain things that we're going to dive into that could actually be big for the Leafs, but a very interesting hire they decided to make here.
And he brings some winning pedigree. I actually think this is a really good move. And I know a lot of people were clowning on him a little bit. I think the reaction so far from what I've seen, again, it's very early, that this just happened 5 minutes ago at the time of this recording, but from what I've seen, a lot of people are split on it so far, but I actually think this is a really good move. Now, you can say what you want about him on the panel. If you watch the Sportsnet panel during the playoffs, he was on it. I don't think he's given the whole secret sauce away, if that makes sense, on the panel. So I'm sure there's more to him as a coach than we're seeing on the panel and what he's kind of, dissecting in these games. But, obviously just let go from Detroit. I feel like the coaching staff in Detroit, like that was kind of out of their control. That roster isn't really built to win. And this is a guy who has won at the NHL level, not as a head coach, but as an assistant coach. So you add him to this lineup, with a head coach who has won a Stanley Cup in Craig Berube. I feel like this could be a really good mix. And like you brought up, he's not named an associate coach like Lane Lambert was. He's an assistant coach, which I think is interesting. And this was also kept very quiet, which I thought was crazy too, because I thought it was going the opposite way from everything we were hearing or not hearing, I guess at this point, that MLSE was probably going to start cutting positions, but nope, they add another assistant coach here. And again, I think it's a good hire. We'll get into some more specifics, but I do like this move.
Yeah, and it's very interesting now. This is back-to-back years where you'll see guys on television. We saw Craig Berube last year before he got hired, hinting at coming to the Leafs, and now Derek Lalonde. There was no real link to him and the Leafs, though he did have some high praise at times for the Leafs. He also had some negative things to say at times, maybe some hot takes out there as well during the playoff run, if you guys remember some of those. But as a coach specifically, very, I think, exciting news. And again, assistant coach. Now, the difference between associate coach and assistant coach, the actual title, of course, assistant, you would assume is a little bit more, I guess, serious and to be more involved in some of the decisions that Craig Berube is making. But we now have two winners on the team. An assistant coach who has won a cup as an assistant coach, and then a head coach, of course, who has won a cup as a head coach in Craig Berube. And he's a two-time cup winner now. But also, as they start to talk about it, it's very interesting, because if you go back to Brad Treliving's comments, talking about changing the DNA, he did mention, I believe, not just obviously about the players all the time, but also with the coaching staff and things like that. And of course, getting rid of Brendan Shanahan. This is a change of the DNA to a degree. Of course, if this is their only change and this is their only move, you don't want to see that. But it's a very good step in the right direction, especially considering the alternative, which was either A, not hiring someone else, or a couple of the other alternatives out there, which weren't quite, you need experience at this point. They are trying to win a cup in the next couple of years, and he's 52 years old. He joins the Leafs after serving as a head coach of the Red Wings for 3 seasons, where he accumulated an 89, 86, and 23 record, which isn't great, but it's also not bad given how bad, that team, not really how bad the team was, but they had some other stuff going on there. I don't want to put the blame on, of course, the head coach. And we think back to 2020, 2021, like he won these cups very recently. So it's very interesting. Also, of course, he coached with the United States team. They were asking him a lot about that. So he's familiar with a lot of players, familiar with coaching in high-level games. I just think you can't be upset about it, because Lane Lambert, of course, left to go coach the Kraken. He will replace him, but as an assistant coach, not associate coach. I'm pretty excited about this move. And also, I'm a bit surprised, because this came out of absolutely nowhere. We heard some rumblings about some other players from Elliot Friedman, or from other coaches, from Elliot Friedman. And no one had predicted Derek Lalonde as the next guy, and I'm pretty happy with it. And I don't hate the move at all.
And I know Brendan Shanahan is gone now, but this is classic Leafs, dropping this without any, noticed. We had no idea this was going to happen on a Friday at the end of the day. Classic Toronto Maple Leafs. But there's a couple of things we got to get into in terms of things I'm still a little concerned about. But like you mentioned, two-time Stanley Cup winner, you want to change the DNA, bring in guys who've done it, bring in guys who know how to win. I was talking about this in a video earlier this week that, the master plan for the Toronto Maple Leafs through 2017 to 2022, it seemed like, was bringing guys who almost did it and have been around for a long time and they're veterans, but they never actually did it. I'm talking about, and listen, I think they're great players, but they never won the cup and they were never there. Wayne Simmons, Joe Thornton, Patrick Marleau, they never did it. But now you're bringing in guys who have won the cup and recently and on your coaching staff. And I really like that. So Derek Lalonde is going to be a great acquisition. The one thing I am a little worried about is not necessarily the power play, which finished 8th in the league, which is not bad. That's on Mark Savard. Lane Lambert was running the penalty kill, which finished 17th in the league. Not great, bottom half of the league. And, I don't know if it's on Derek Lalonde to figure that out. Maybe it's on Mike Van Ryan. I'm not sure, but they have to figure that out. And again, bringing him in, even if it's not for that, that's fine. Just having a guy with that experience in the room, doing some stuff with the coaching staff as well. And we know, Craig Berube is also going to take on a bigger role as well now, obviously with Brendan Shanahan being gone. So I think that's going to be really interesting to keep an eye on, like how much is Derek Lalonde, involved in everything the day to day, right? Which he's going to be, but I mean, in terms of like player personnel and stuff like that, that's going to be interesting too. Cause he does have experience as a head coach now with Detroit. Didn't go great, but again, has that winning pedigree with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So all in all, I like this move. I'm sure more is going to come out. I'm sure we're going to get some comments from Brad Living as well, but I like the move. I think he's going to win. He's going to bring some winning pedigree, which is something that the Leafs need to add more of. And if you talk about changing DNA, we're starting already now.
Yeah, slowly getting there. Also, a quick note, and you mentioned the penalty kill. A little bit of a scary note here. The Detroit Red Wings under Derek Lalonde ranked last in the NHL at 70.1%. So again, personnel, a lot of these things. It's going to be interesting to see there. And he's an assistant coach. So his number one priority is not going to be, he's not the penalty kill coach. But at the same time, they're going to need someone to take that over. And of course, you can see here, this was a major concern for the team, even being considered the worst penalty kill in NHL history, according to some sources. And of course, their goaltending was really bad. But that's, if there's one negative to take away from this, maybe that would be it. But again, there's a lot more than just that. And looking at some of his, coaching career and coaching records, a couple of years with the Red Wings, had a decent year in 2023, 2024. Obviously missed the playoffs, didn't do what they were expected to do, which was make the playoffs 41 and 32. But at the end of the day, folks, it's going to be interesting and a bit of a surprising move to start what's going to be a flurry of moves. And we know players are going to start, of course, there's going to be some rumblings about trades and free agencies opening up very soon. To start with the Shanahan firing and a new hiring already before free agency has officially, opened for the player side of things, even though there is conversations going on behind the scenes. I'm sure we'll hear some verbal agreements and reports and news come out there. This is a good start for the change of DNA and a good start for the Toronto Maple Leafs summer. So it's going to be a crazy season for the Toronto Maple Leafs and a crazy offseason for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So let us know down below what your thoughts are. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.